Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Infinity here. So, this is a behind the scenes of the animation that I just finished making. And though it's not really behind the scenes, because I never really thought to show you guys the process of me working on it, I'm just going to explain what it is, how I came up with the idea, just that sort of stuff. Okay, so first off, a lot of people thought, for whatever reason, that I am a professional 3D animator. And I'm going to tell this to you right now, I am not. I made that animation as a project for my class because at my school they offer animation as a class. I've been taking that since I was a sophomore. So this was my third year of animation and just learning about it. And our teacher has checked how much time it takes for us to make our animations and has compared it to actual work days. So for that one animation, even though I came up with that concept over the summer, I had about 50 or so days to complete it. 50 or so work days if I worked at a job where animating was my job. That is how much time I had to make that animation. It could have been better. The fighting scenes could have been better. The lighting, the textures, everything could have been better in it. But the fact is, I didn't have the time nor the technology to do that, considering I've only been able to work at home on my animations for the past 2 or 3 months. But the point is that I am not a professional animator. This was not a professional animation. This was a class project that I had to turn in by the end of the year. 50 so work days to complete it. That's all you gotta know. Anyway, about the animation itself. I came up with the concept of it over summer because for me, I've had this huge idea of a story that's just been in my head for a really long time now. And I've been trying to figure out all the plot that's in it, just all the conflicts, how they're resolved, storyline, origins, backstory, everything. And this is one of the side stories or backstories of it, if you want to call it that. See, it first started off with me sketching some of my friends, and then I sketched my friend Alex, and I sketched 2 guns next to her, and there were 2 guns that were in the shape of pistols, but could switch between machine guns, which they had these little containers right here that would shoot out, and then there were tiny holes in them that would just repeatedly shoot out just really small bullets of air that, again, are apparently really effective. And the pistol could also have its barrel extend for it to be a sniper, or it could have its top and bottom barrel extend for it to be a shotgun. And yeah, I think that's all the gun modes for it. Of course, there's the normal pistol, but yeah. So I came up with that idea, and then I put it into action. I started to write out the story of it, and write out just the lines, what should happen in it, what I planned to happen in it. And then school started, and I got to work right away. I used one of my character models that I used 2 years ago, since last year I made an animation based off a dog teddy bear type thing, which I'll put in the description. That was my second year project. My first year project is so shitty I'm not putting it on my channel. No way I'm putting it on my channel. Second year project was but it wasn't complete. Anyway, so yeah. My first year animation project, I actually had human models. And I based my third year animation model after my first year animation model, since they were both humans. And then it was just modeling the clothing, the belt, the sweater, all that type of stuff. And one of the things that took me the longest time to do was the hair, because I just made a sphere and then I extruded out all the faces and made them come out as points, and even extruded the faces multiple times so that it would be like stuff like that. I don't really even know how to describe that. But I just extruded the faces so that would happen. I gave her entire face like as close to a human-ish skin color as I could. And then the next part were her eyes. The first time I did eyes, when I was in first year, it was horrible. Like, it was just bad. Like, instead of having the eyes where they were, there are holes in the face where the eyes would go and the eyes were behind the holes, I had the eyes as an entirely separate object. Like, it was this shape that was extruding from their faces, and it looked really weird. But I couldn't really do anything about it because I didn't really know how to at the time. But I fixed the eyes, made them as anime-like as I could. That was again something that took a long time because I couldn't really find any tutorials on it that didn't involve having textures that moved with the character. After that, it was just setting up the character. You know, putting up the rig, making her skeleton. That was pretty difficult too, mainly because the purple sleeves that she had, like that was on her shirt and that was on her arms, those were an entirely different layer from the dress skirt thing that she had. I don't know what girl clothes are. I don't know what the name of it is. I'm sorry, okay? Is it a blouse? Anyway, yeah, there were different objects from that, and it wouldn't let me merge the vertexes together because I simply wanted it so that this would not move around with the rest of the body, like any of this stuff, and that this wouldn't be affected by this and vice versa. Because when you're rigging models and you have like a joint right here, it can sometimes affect the area right here as well. So if you move the arm down, it'll just push in that area and mess up a good part of the geometry. Because then all of a sudden you'll have this, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like somebody just went and punched your model right in the side and just left a huge dent there. That's what it ends up looking up at like. Anyway, after that, I started building the setup, the scenes, that type of stuff. The first thing that I worked on was the warehouse. The interesting thing about the warehouse is that my teacher taught me how to do something with the gravel that made it look more realistic. And I personally thought that was cool. It just gave it like this 3D-ness by making the lights pop out more and making the darks push in more. I wish I knew how to describe it. And I wish I knew what the name of it was too, but I really don't. And then another thing I did was I put spotlights on all of the street lamps. And they even had speculars. So you know when you're under a street lamp or under any sort of light and you see like particles flying around in it? That's how it was. Thinking back on it, I probably shouldn't have went into that much detail with the warehouse, considering the street lights themselves aren't a major part of my animation. They were going to be, but they ended up not being. Anyway, I made the crates, made the little mountain things around the base so that it would look like a normal place. There's actually a whole sphere encompassing the entire thing, but it's really tough to see it because, you know, I'm not going to have it so that you guys can see this whole sphere because that's just that takes away from the animation. Just that thing, it's not supposed to be there. It's supposed to be semi-realistic. For the fight scene, which was the next part that I had to work on, I started it, then I'm like, I want to save this for later. And I kept working on other stuff. I worked on the inside of the warehouse where there's the hallway. I worked on the room where she ends up at the end. And I set up all that stuff. And here's another fun fact. If you go back and you look at the animation, when she's going down the hall, the door that she's supposed to enter through, it has a glitched texture on it, which is supposed to be something like a distortion in fabric of reality type thing, it's no big deal, just throwing that out there. So yeah. Did the fight scene. It wasn't that good. I wish it was better, but it really wasn't. Like, I had the epic music, I had the timing down, but the fluid motions and the prolonged fighting, I didn't have. It was really bad. And that's something that I'm probably going to try to work on more if I can get my hand on another version of Maya. But, yeah, I'm not good with fight scenes. Obviously, it's just one of my weaker points, I guess. So yeah, the timing of it was off, and it was going to look a lot more better than I originally had it planned to. But when you only have a limited amount of time to work on something, you're not able to work on it to your fullest. Like, you have to set restraints on how much you can work on something. And that's something that a lot of people don't really understand about being in a class of animation compared to being in a job of animation. Like, when you're in a job, you have weeklies. And those weeklies, it's like, I accomplished this goal, and this goal, and this goal. But with us, it's like, we don't have that time. Like, only 58 work days. Was it 58? I don't know. It's something like that. 58 work days. So, I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty damn sure that a lot of Pixar's movies aren't finished in 58 days. A lot of the animations people work on, they work on them for a year, maybe 2 years. I don't really know. All I know is that I probably had an eighth or a sixth of the time. And I didn't have the resources at first because I could work on it at school, but that's all. That's the only time that I could work on it. The beginning of the year, I had to work on a PE class as well so that I could graduate. And that made me lose more time for working on my animation. And it just sucks. It sucks being in an animation class because you don't have the time to make it the way you want to. But again, that's a good thing about being in animation class too, because it helps you realize what needs to be in your animation compared to what you think needs to be in it. It's a bit tough to explain, but that's the best way I can do it. So after I finished setting up all the scenes, I went through with the animating. Animating was pretty simple. Most of it, you probably don't notice this, but most of the time you don't see her legs because I'm not good with walk cycles. Last year I was, because I was using a stuffed animal as a model. This year I wasn't, because I'm using a human as a model, and the walk sequence is really, really bad. If you go back and look at it, you'll see there's some points where her arms are just stiff next to her sides, they aren't even moving with her. And there are some points where the legs are just instead of but yeah, in the midst of getting all the animating done, that's when I had my friend Alex come in for the voicing of it. She has been a great help throughout all of this, and I'd like to thank her. Actually, I have thanked her multiple times, but I'd like to thank her in this video too, because without her, I wouldn't have found a suitable voice actress for my character. Another fun fact, the character's name is Zella. What's Zella backwards? It's Alex. What do you know? Anyway, this animation, I'm happy with it. I'm happy with the way that it turned out. I know it could have been better, but my first year of animation, our teacher had us group up with partners. My partner didn't do anything that entire year. She didn't even finish her first job, which was just build a school and animate it being blown up. That's it. That's all she had to do. And then I had my entire half of the animation. I had that completely done. And hers was just like, she didn't even work on it. She sat there on meme base and just did nothing and played Happy Wheels 2. And then it got to the point where there was a month left. And my partner was like, okay, so we're not going to finish our animation, let's scrap it and do a new one. And I'm like, I'm going to scrap it. I'm going to scrap it because my animation, the way that it is now, it's completely not possible to work with. There's nothing I can do to make that animation better because my half the animation is just snippets of like here, and like somewhere all the way in the distance. Like, I can't piece all of that together to make a movie out of it. So I ended up making a different animation, which was just a music video. And that's like the lowest of the low that you can get with in that class, because my teacher understood, because he knew how much of a slacker my partner was, but I was disappointed. I was really disappointed, especially since that entire year I had like been working my ass off trying to get it perfect. Anyway, I ended up making a music video about 4 minutes long. All it was a camera moving. There was no actual animation in it, except for one time a tornado was rotating. That's it. There's nothing else that I could do there. And then, second year of animation, that was when we had a really glitchy Maya. Like, that's what we used to animate. Maya, I think we had 2009 back then, and this year we finally got 2013. So last year, 2009, this year, 2013. See what a huge jump that is? Because the district wouldn't let the animation department like keep going up with all the updates. And it sucked, but we were able to work with it. And that's where I made the dog animation. Simply because I was like, okay, let me think about this. I recently had gotten either Sonic Generations or Sonic Unleashed, and I was like, this is a really fun game. And I plan on having a story in my story, InfinityBreach, where a stuffed animal comes into play. Maybe I can do something like that, styled in the way of Sonic the Hedgehog. And that's the kind of thing that I was going for there. It didn't really work out as well because Maya was messing up. It was deleting my files. It was deleting my renders. And in the end, I was only 2 or 3 rendered movies away from finishing my animation, but I wasn't able to. It sucks, but I just wasn't able to finish it the way that I wanted to. Apparently it was still good. The lighting in it was really great and stuff like that. Sorry about that, guys. Something came up and I had to disappear for a bit. I think I was on the topic of my second year animation. But yeah, I decided to model it loosely off of the Sonic series, or at least how the animals in that series are portrayed. Um, the entire gist of that story is that it's about a stuffed animal and how every time its owner is having a really bad day or just feeling really negative and down, he goes into their dreams and then fights their negative emotions, which appear in the form of monsters inside of their mind. And then when he defeats them, then their dream world goes back to normal, the way that it's supposed to be, instead of this dark, barren place. And, well, I'm not going to tell you the rest of it, because I plan on going back to that animation and finishing it at some point. But that's pretty much the gist of that. And it's supposed to be in the form of a game. It's like you move forward, it has like over camera, what the heck is it? It's not over the shoulder, but it's like third person view of the character as he's like walking down the place, like dialogue as if it was in Kingdom Hearts. That was also the way I was basing the fighting style off of in the animation, was that of Kingdom Hearts. But that is pretty difficult to do. Swords are not just, they're really tough to deal with. And I feel like just everything's interrupting me today, because my dog was over there scratching the floor, and then my mom came home, and now my mom's phone is going off. And it just stopped. Nope, it did not. Anyway, let me get on to what the story of my animation was supposed to be. The way that I had it, it was going to be that the animation itself was the present, and the past would be shown in flashbacks and in voice. That was the plan for it, and it did kind of work. Except the fact is I didn't have a lot of time to draw using the tablet that I borrowed from the school, and I, again, wasn't able to do that to my liking. So it ended up being like at the very beginning, it was very low quality art, and it slowly got better throughout the animation. God damn it! Anyway, yeah, that was the whole point of the story in it, and that's why it ended up being so long. Because the animation itself, probably 3-4 minutes, I think. I'm not really sure. Either 4 to 5 minutes. 3 to 5, I don't know. I really don't. But I might as well tell you guys the story of it, since I only have like 64 subscribers and I have 100 or so people that have viewed the video, so might as well tell you guys, what the story of it was. So basically, there's this girl. She lives in the forest with her parents. Her parents are scientists. They've been working on this project. She has no idea what it is. The government comes. The government takes control of the base where her parents were hiding out at. Explosion proceeds. You assume that her parents are dead. She takes an escape tunnel that her parents have created for emergencies just like these, where they have to get away from the government that has been chasing them. Escape tunnel goes to the city. The city is where she ended up in an adoption center, or in an orphanage, or whatever the hell I said before. And because of that, these people that were tracked her specifically down, for whatever reason, found her and made her join their society, which was, anti-government, meant to just try and, I don't really know, what does an anti-government group do? This group basically just stole high-tech equipment from the government, like prototypes, proxies, things like that. That was her job. She became the best recruit there because her motives was for revenge, and etc., etc., etc. And so she gets these guns because they're like, you know what? This girl, she is the best of the best here. So we're giving them to her. They give them to her. She uses them to break into government facilities all across the country. Then on this mission, she gets these 3 bullets, which have some sort of magic, as she would describe it, imbued in them, which make it so that they can defeat any powerful foes. At first she just thought it was some bull, like she would just keep it as a lucky charm, but she decided she was going to just keep it. Anyway, at the government facility, which would be the present, she ends up outside, snipes down 5 of the soldiers, because that's the only people that she can see at the moment. She gets down, is checking to see if one of them is knocked out. They were, because, her guns, they're made with the bullets are pressurized air, but the air is dense enough so that it can shoot out over long distances and be strong enough to knock somebody out too. It can't kill them, it cannot kill them, but I can easily knock them out. She's against killing. That is another thing I should say. She's very against killing. So then she gets found by the other 5 guards that are there that HQ warned her about in the beginning. And then epic fight scene with them, and she gets inside the base, avoids the guards that are down there, goes into the room, finds out that the project that she's supposed to be in there to steal, that is weaponry, was actually a kid. Just a kid that's maybe a bit younger than her, but she would call him a kid anyway. She goes back to the table, reads the lab report. Lab report, has her parents' names in it, details, stuff that happened, and I have that report. I believe I'm going to, put it up in a video or something. Yeah, I think I can put it up. Yeah, I think I'm going to put it up in a video or something like that, and then just, upload it unlisted, put it in the description of this video and the other video. It's a bit long, which is why it got taken out, because it was literally her opening up this folder and then reading from it for 3 minutes. So if you're really into the series so far, you can go read that, but it's really long, fair warning. Anyway, she reads this, and she realizes that this was the project her parents were working on back in the forest. And that is why I have the past and the present in that animation. Woo. Anyway, she reads their notes and then reads their director's notes. And the director is okay. In the full version of the notes, basically, there were 3 doctors and the director. There were other doctors before, but they got blown away in an explosion that happened. Anyway, 3 doctors left and the director. 2 of the doctors got kicked out because they were being really, really ethical. They didn't want any, harm to come of this subject. They were really just this isn't right. So they stopped. Anyway, the director and 1 other doctor continued working on it. Then something happened which resulted in that doctor going crazy with power and wanting to use that project to control the world. To manipulate it into controlling the world. the director wasn't having any of that, locked the project away for a good reason. Because nothing else could stop it. Anyway, she reads this, realizes what she just did, turns around, project is right there, standing up, conscious, looking at her. She books it, runs as fast as she can down the hall, trips, turns around, doesn't have time to get up and continue running, so shoots, and the recoil of her blasts fire her backwards as she shoots. And then she's just trying everything she can, but nothing is damaging this monster, as she would call it. Because I can't describe what it is, because that would ruin part of the story, but yeah, she cannot kill this monster. Or knock it out or anything like that. So as she's flying backwards, all of a sudden, like, something falls out of her pocket. She looks down, it's the 3 bullets that she got with the quote-unquote magic type stuff inside of them that would save her if she ever needed it. Used one of them, boom, and you don't get to see it, but you assume that the monster is gone. Anyway, she takes the elevator up, runs outside, runs to the top of the hill, calls HQ, tells them to call an airstrike on the base, because this was the monster that had killed her parents. And she knows that now. She knows that. And that is why it's just like, yeah. Anyway, a recurring theme in the story is 3. 3 bullets, 3 times she's ran. Shoots her first bullet against the monster. And she, apparently, she thought it worked. And there are 3 times in her life that she's ran away in fear. First time was when her parents told her to run. Second time was from the thing that killed her parents. And then, third time, that's going to be revealed way later. If you guys actually catch it when it happens, I will be really happy. But, yeah. Anyway, airstrike happens, mission's over, she goes back home. I was going to animate it so that it was like this really creepy silence and everybody was gone. And so she goes up to the person's there, and it's like, I'm back. And then he's like, okay, we're relocating you to Dallas, Texas. No real reason why, just doing it. So go pack your stuff, you're leaving. And she's just so, like, shaken up by the fact that she just met the thing that killed her parents that she's just like, okay, leaves. But then, what you don't know is that in the shadows behind the entire maker of that organization is that monster that is still there, still alive. And he reveals that the owner of the organization that had been stealing high-tech equipment from all across the country was, in fact, the 3rd Doctor that helped create him. And the one that the director threw out of that project. And that's pretty much that animation. And also, the monster kills him afterwards, which is why the screen goes red, but yeah, implied violence! Woohoo! I don't really think there's a lot else I can really say about that animation. This is really long behind the scenes, but that's because I've been working on this all year. Like, every single day that I could all year. Yeah, about 58 work days, something like that. But yeah, hopefully this gave you some insight into what my animation was, how much I worked on it, that type of stuff. Yeah. I don't really know what else to say. But Yeah, I'm not a professional. I'm just a student that is trying to do their best to create the best content that they can make. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the animation. I hope those of you that watched this enjoyed this too, because, well, it's been a really long year, and I'm really happy with the feedback you guys have given me on my animation, things that needed to be fixed, like with the voice acting, how there were buttons clicking in the background. And let me tell you, that was because I had to record that stuff in the animation classroom, and it couldn't be completely quiet because somebody was next to me typing on the keyboard as the animation was going on. I mean, as the voice acting or voice recording was going on. So that's why you hear clicking sometimes. As for the rest of it, all the sound effects I got by myself. Music was by this guy named Pokey Remix Studios. Really awesome guy, let me tell you that much. And animation was by me using Maya 2013. I used Photoshop CS6 to draw a lot of the stuff. I use CS5 for some of it too, because I have CS5 at home, but CS6 is at school. I think that's pretty much it, though. Oh, I used Premiere Pro CS6 again to edit it, because the one that I have at home, which is, I believe, CS5 or something like that, I can't render anything on it. It just won't work. But, yeah, it's been a long year, and I worked really hard on it, and I'm really happy that you guys liked it. Like, I'm actually really happy about that. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this. I appreciate you watching all of this the way through, because this story that I'm making means a lot to me. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day. I will see you guys later.